Hello and welcome back. Are you looking to streamline your data management? In this video, I will show you how to effortlessly copy Power BI reports data to a SharePoint list using PowerAutomate. So stay tuned and let's dive into the demo right after the short intro. So I have a Power BI report deployed online into the Power BI reporting portal. And the report have a title column, quantity, unit price, date ordered, and status. And if I look at the workspaces and if I select sales workspace, that's where this report is published. So this is called orders. The report name is orders. So if I click on it, I can go back to the same report again. So what I've done is I created a SharePoint list with the same columns and data types. So on the sales team side, I created a customer orders list. The list contains the same columns, title, quantity, unit price, order created, and status columns. So this is the report in the Power BI desktop view. It's the same report which is published to that workspace. We will need to open the report in Power BI desktop because we need to extract the query which we will need in the PowerAutomate flow. I will show you just in a minute. So first thing, we need to navigate to make.powerautomate.com. and then click on create flow. We can create an automated flow or scheduled flow, but in this instance, I will just create an instant cloud flow so we can test our scenario. So I will click on instant cloud flow. I will give this flow a name. I will just call it Power BI to SP list and then manually trigger the flow. Click on create. Now the flow is created. The first thing in the flow we need to do is we need to get it connected to the Power BI dataset. So the first action of the flow, click on add an action. So if I type in dataset in the search box, I can see few actions in the Power BI action pack. So the action we need here is run a query against a dataset. First, we need to select which workspace our Power BI report is published under. So I will click on the drop down and I can see the sales workspace here. If you don't see the workspace, you can get the ID of the workspace and enter a custom value. For me, I can see all the workspaces, so I will select sales workspace. So the next thing is what data set. So if I go back to the Power BI and if I go to the workspaces and then I click on sales workspace, I can see the orders data set available here. So the data set name is orders. So if I go back to Power Automate and in the dataset drop down, I will select orders dataset. Query text. So this is the query this Power Automate is going to run against that dataset to return the values. So to generate this query text, we need Power BI desktop and we need to have that report open in that desktop. So this is the query we already run. So we have applied any filter or sorting on everything we need to do for this query. So this is the end result. So we have these 4 different type of orders as a result of this query. So we need to copy this query into the Power Automate workflow. To do that, we need to go to the Optimize tab and then we need to select Performance Analyzer. So once we select that, it will open up this screen on the right hand side. We need to click on Start Recording. And then after we click on Start Recording, we will see the message here, recording started. I need to click on Refresh Visuals. So when I click on that, it will generate the table and the query. So if I click on that plus sign next to the table, I can see the copy query link. So if I click on it, now it says the query is copied. So I have copied the query which will generate me this result in the Power BI report, and I need to place that query inside the Power Automate flow. So when Power Automate flow runs that query against a Power BI dataset, it provides these results. So I will navigate back to the Power Automate. So in the query text, I will just paste that query which I copied from the Power BI desktop. This is how the query looks like. It summarizes what type of columns you're going to look at, and then it will put any order by or any sorting or filtering inside this query already. So this query is ready to go basically. So let's save it and run this flow. So the next thing we need to do is we need to pass the JSON from this query. So to pass the JSON, we need to get a schema. To get the schema, we need to run this flow once and get the query output, and then we can put that as a sample inside the parse.json method to get the right schema, so we can parse it to the JSON to extract each row from that dataset. So I will click on save. I will go back to the flow page, and then I will click on just run this flow. It will ask me to sign into Power BI. I will click on continue, and then I will click on run flow. The flow ran successfully. I will click on this date to get the history of the flow. I need to open this action, run a query against a dataset, and then under this output I see the first table row. So this is the schema which we need to copy. I will do Control A and then press Control C from my keyboard to copy the first table row schema. That's the schema we need to pass the JSON now. So I will go and edit this flow. So I will add an action in this flow. Click on plus sign after run a query against a dataset action, and click on add an action, and I will search for data operation parse JSON action. So I will click on that. The content to create schema from is going to be the dynamic content, and then it is going to be from run a query against a dataset output, and I will be selecting first table rows. So I will select that, and you remember we copied the schema for first table rows from our previous run. So I will click on use sample payload to generate schema. So remember we have copied the values from our previous run for this payload. So I will paste that values just inside here, and this will generate the schema for this parse JSON action. So I will click on done. So the schema is generated. It is of type array, and then it has 5 fields. So that step is done. Next we have the JSON now. Now we need to create list items in SharePoint for each row in this JSON. So I will click on plus sign, add an action. I will search for create item action. So under SharePoint, create item action is available. I will select the site, which is our sales team site. So I will select that site, and then the list name we have is customer orders. So I will click on show all to see all the parameters. So as soon as I enter the dynamic value for the title, you will see that the flow will add apply to each loop here, because the JSON will have more than one rows. So then it will add a loop here, and then for each row it will create an item and add those properties. So if I click on that dynamic action to get dynamic value, so from the parse JSON body order title, so title is going to be here. So you can see it has placed that create item automatically inside the for each loop. Now the next we need to select the quantity, and then this is going to be dynamic value as well. So body order quantity. Next we have unit price, again a dynamic value of unit price, and then date ordered. This is going to be the date we have placed that order. And then for the status value, because it's a drop down, so instead of selecting a value from the drop down, we can click enter custom value, and then click on this dynamic icon, and then we need to select body order status. That's it. So the flow is ready now. So let's go through the flow. So we are going to manually trigger the flow. Flow is going to run the query against the orders dataset. It will get all those rows from that dataset. It will pass the rows into JSON using that schema, and then for each row in the JSON output, it will create an item in our SharePoint list. So I will click on save. I will go back to the flow page so we can then trigger the flow. I will just click on run this flow. It will ask me to sign into Power BI and SharePoint. I'll click continue, and then I will click on run this flow. So at the moment the list is empty, but once the flow is completed, hopefully it will populate those items from the Power BI orders report into this list. So flow ran successfully. If I click on the flow run history, the query ran against that dataset, and we got all those rows from the table, and then we passed those into JSON, and that was our schema. And then in terms of output, we can see the clean JSON data, and then for each of this row we are going to create the items in a SharePoint list. So the items you can see that are created in a SharePoint list. So if I navigate back to the customer order SharePoint list, and if I refresh this page, we can see there are 4 orders created with the quantity, unit price, date, and statuses in the SharePoint list. So these were the same order from this Power BI report. If I open this report and just show you those orders, so there were only 4 orders in there. I've created this flow to run manually to just show you how you can copy Power BI report data into SharePoint list. You can create a schedule flow, or you can even create a flow trigger when something happened in a list or library. So that is up to you how you want to configure it. So hopefully by watching this video, now you understand how easily you can copy Power BI report data into a SharePoint list using PowerAutomate flow. Thank you very much for watching this video. Consider subscribing if you're new to the channel by pressing the red subscribe button below this video and click the notification bell icon so you don't miss any of my future videos as I upload new videos every week. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it useful. If you have any question regarding this topic or any other query related to Microsoft 365 technologies, add them in the comment section below. I review those comments on daily basis. I will be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.